For the film Rambling Rose, Diane Ladd and her daughter, Laura Dern, made history as the first mother-daughter pair ever to be nominated for Academy Awards in the same year. But Diane Ladd had a better memory.
This was the picture that the late Princess Diana chose as her absolute favorite, and she flew Laura and I to London for a royal premiere and a party in our honor, and she sat between us, holding both our hands and crying, watching us perform.
Welcome to Headline to Heartline. A door has closed and a spotlight lingers on the threshold of understanding. Today, we remember Diane Ladd, the Oscar-nominated actress whose career spanned decades and whose presence quietly anchored many scenes. She passed away on 3 November 2025, leaving behind her daughter Laura Dern and a legacy of memorable roles, tough characters, and a spirit both vulnerable and unbowed. In our hearts, we feel the loss of a creative force, and in our minds, we seek to honor her by understanding how she left us. We have now, days after her passing, received official medical information that clarifies the why of what we mourn. A death certificate reveals that the immediate cause of her passing was acute on chronic hypoxic respiratory failure. In plain terms, her lungs were unable to get enough oxygen, and contributing conditions included interstitial lung disease and esophageal dysmotility. These details were published after the family made the certificate public, and thus we rely on verified primary documentation rather than mere speculation. To help make sense of this, we consulted a lung specialist physician who reviewed the publicly released data. The doctor explained that Ms. Ladd's interstitial lung disease meant her lung tissue had been scarred or stiff for some time, reducing capacity and making oxygen transfer inefficient. The esophageal dysmotility added a dangerous complication. When the tube delivering food or fluid from the mouth to the stomach malfunctions, there is a heightened risk of aspiration, meaning material meant for the stomach enters the airway, triggering inflammation, infection, or sudden lung collapse. In someone whose lungs are already compromised, such an event can precipitate a rapid decline into hypoxic respiratory failure. Pause and consider the emotional weight of that. A woman whose lungs were doing delicate work, already weakened, and then the hidden hazard of swallowing dysfunction creates a pathway for disaster. Our grief deepens when we realize how silently the body can turn against itself. We're sharing this not to dwell in the clinical or cold detail, but to show compassion for the full human story. Diane Ladd lived long enough to influence generations, to play complex women with grace, to teach by example. Her final chapter reminds us how fragile life is, how the body we depend on can fail when conditions align, and how the people we love are fighting battles we may never see. Yet to speak only of how she died is to miss why her life matters so deeply. Diane Ladd was recognized again and again as one of the great character actresses of her time, with 3 Academy Award nominations for performances that could never be mistaken for anyone else's. From the sharp-tongued waitress in Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore to the ferocious, unsettling mother in Wild at Heart, and the layered, vulnerable woman in Rambling Rose, she had a gift for inhabiting working-class lives, difficult mothers, and wounded souls without ever losing their dignity. Directors trusted her because she brought courage, humor, and a moral spine into every frame. Over more than 70 years, she turned supporting roles into emotional anchors. You could feel a scene settle when she walked into it. And then there is the part of her legacy that keeps breathing through her daughter. As the mother of one of my favorite actresses in activity today, Laura Dern, I feel a personal tenderness in this story. Laura has been so present in our screens and conversations in recent years, especially with the visibility of Big Little Lies, where she gave us a woman boiling with rage and vulnerability, and then with her Oscar-winning turn in Marriage Story. When I watch Laura's work, I see echoes of Diane's fearlessness, that same willingness to be messy, unpolished, honest. It moves me to think of a daughter who grew up watching her mother on set and then stepped into her own acclaim while still carrying that lineage of bravery. This truly is a family of exemplars. Two actresses who did not just share blood, but craft, discipline, and a deep emotional intelligence. They worked side by side in films. They stood together on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And when Diane's lung disease threatened to cut her life short, mother and daughter turned doctors' orders into daily walks and conversations that became a shared memoir. Out of diagnoses, they created dialogue. Out of fear, they created connection. Their story reminds us that art and love can grow in the very soil of hardship. When I think of Diane Ladd now, I picture a mother and daughter walking and talking their way toward more time, and I feel invited to honor my own breath, my own body, and the people I love with a little more care. Like and subscribe. Stay with us as we honor lives, explore stories, and turn headline into heartline. Thank you for being here. And Diane Ladd, we thank you for every role you gave, every moment you claimed, and every memory you left.